I just felt water come out of that aircon. Yeah, we'll definitely need to get the aircon guy out. I don't know how many times this air conditioning unit has been serviced. It's just endless because it has this little pump system that pumps all the water out of it. Because directly behind this wall, there's a shop that, like, just on that wall is the outside world, so they could have just ran a pipe to there and then, you know, all the water can come out. But this room actually did flood like maybe 10 years ago. The roof collapsed, and that's actually a good point. Looking at the roof now, someone's opened up the manhole and hasn't closed it. So now we need to get up there and close that as well, because that's just going to let dust into the room. Today's adventure is emptying the office of old computers. And our office has been, you know, in Parramatta for 10 years plus. And I have slowly been keeping computers from different jobs because in hindsight, I would want them as spare parts, but I doubt that, you know, we'll need them now, so we've tossed them all. We've had 2 clients come to our office and, you know, commented on how many old computers we are storing. Our client Skip Wright has sent us a bin and we have filled it, and we've got more to go, and we should have got a bigger bin. Anyway, yeah, let's leave the guys to empty the office out. Alright, so another data recovery job. This is not our server room. Let's probably have an heart attack because so many people have rebooted the server so many times without the volumes being mounted. It's like, oh look, I found all my data again. No smart array failures now, look at that. Alcoholic wipes. I like a good alcoholic wipe. We weren't here to do cleaning, we were just here to fix this server. Or at least understand what was causing the issues, because the other IT provider that was working on this has already sent out 2 technicians to try and fix it. And yeah, they've been told that they told the client that this server needs to be replaced, which is true. It's a 5-year-old server, but it's an archive and it's supposed to be offline, and we just need the data out of it. So it might burst into fire once we turn it on. I've been told that the screen is connected because the other IT company has been working on this. Let's turn it on. Alright, here we go. Let's see what the array controller is going to do. What I love about the HP array controller is that it will take the array offline to preserve itself. So even if the server's on and it loses a disk, so look at that, it's actually booting now. Hilarious. We couldn't get to this point. Oh, we've got more problems. Unable to resolve a particular disk. Da, 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 da. That's completely right. I'm just gonna go Control D. What's completely strange about this is that the 2 online spares that were assigned to that array didn't take over from the failed drives. And that's just probably due to the abruptness of this particular failure. Because if you lose more than 2 drives, the RAID 10 fails. And we lost 3 in one go. So the online spare didn't have a chance to, you know, catch the data that was written to any of those other drives. So the array was just taken offline straight away. So when this happens, usually reseating the drive and rebooting the server is enough to get the drives to spin back up again. And in this case, the amber smart array failure light on those 2 drives that were dead has now disappeared. So just reseating the drive back into the controller has fixed it, but we're not going to bet on that. We're going to actually replace the drives one by one. So the drive that we first replaced, which was 18, will now get all the data from the other drives, and the logical drive should actually spin up. I get really, really freaked out when those lights are really dim. I always think that it's like faulty. Alright, so just press any key again to go into the ROM and see what's actually happening. Yeah, and then once it comes online, I can just rip out the drive, shove in the new drive, and it will start building everything over the top of it. So it's actually like not online right now, it's got no light. So the trick was just to reseat the drives and now they're alive. It's still got one drive down, but we'll see what it says. So bay 18 is now okay. They're all okay. 22 and 23 are okay. So why are we having a problem? We've reseated all the drives. The drives are coming online in the array controller, which is great. There must have been a momentary failure in their connection to the actual backplane. The logical drive's disabled automatically by default because data loss has occurred. The drives haven't failed because they're online, they've got the little light. Our next step is to accept the data loss, which could be just 1 byte or it could be a gigabyte, just depends on what it was writing at the time, and see if the server will boot after that. So it's basically taking the hit, is what the terminology is. Well, we don't have any way of protecting ourselves from this event. I put the original drives back in, which means that we've got a full working array. So it's basically saying restore data from backup if replacement drives have been installed, which is not the case. We haven't replaced any drives. We're actually running the original set of drives. And we can see that we've got one drive that's having a problem already. Bay 21. Yeah, cool. So that's another drive that's got a problem. Do not replace drive unless drive is online. Well, I'm not going to. Holy crap, we're going. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut it down and I'm going to reseat all the drives. Yeah, so look, we haven't had any errors. The logical drives come up. Yeah, we're just going to pop all the clips because so far we've had drive failures on drives that were completely offline. So they weren't smart array failures, they were completely offline, which means there was no connection. So in the array, in ILO, before we went to do this job, ILO was saying that there were smart array failures, and that's why we organized replacement drives. But it turns out that they weren't smart array failures, they were just completely offline. So I'm quite surprised and happy today because we've just averted a complete and utter disaster. Red Hat is booting, which is amazing. Well, one of the problems with this server is we've got bad connectivity between the drives. And the backplane. So a lot of dust gets jammed up in here. So this guy's quite strong and it's going to suck the dust out. So basically we've managed to clean all the drives. We have one drive that's actually got a smart array failure. The flashing light means that it has had a smart array failure. We're currently at the login screen of Red Hat. We're gonna do one more reboot and just go into the array controller to see what the status is of that drive. I've reseated the drive twice and it's not working. It's also a flashing amber light rather than a solid amber light, so there's no connectivity issue between the drive and the actual array controller. So we'll log in and just see for the last time what the go is. If it has failed, we'll just swap it out with the new drive that we've got here. After all of that, we've rebooted the server and the array controllers are loading. We're trying to see what's going on with this drive down here that's still flashing amber. Before we go and replace it with a $400 drive, we need to see what the go is. Alright, so it says here, smart hard disk detected imminent failure on bay 21. Okay, imminent failure. It's done. Like, we're gonna have to change that drive. So you can see that the online spare is now coming online. And then the other drive will, it temporarily writes to the online spare and then it writes all the data back to the other drive. It's actually hot too. So that's a funny one. We've just swapped out the drive and you can see now that the green light is flashing, which means that the array is now building this drive to be part of the main group of drives again. With RAID 10, you can have two failures of drives and still be able to use the array. After the second failure, you won't be able to. So we can just rip the drive out, shove the new one in, and then the array will just, move all the data across, which is amazing. One of the other things about RAID 10 is that if you have the online spare will actually read and write the data from the drive that's actually taken out of the array while the initialization is in progress, which is another amazing feature. Like, they've definitely thought of all the different scenarios. So yeah, one drive out of coming here to replace 3 is a good scenario, and I'm happy we changed this drive because it's definitely stuffed. Whereas the other drives were just offline and not flashing amber, so that's just reseating them was the fix for those problems. Now we can see that Red Hat is loading. The array will be degraded in performance, but it will still allow the operating system to boot. There we go. We are now at the login screen. We'll go back to the office and log in to the operating system, and we will perform volume checks on all the volumes, which will then validate if there was any data loss. But the fact that we got it to boot is a good indication that there wasn't any data loss anyway, because the operating system mounts the volume during boot, and if the volume is absolutely stuffed, it won't mount it. Alright, so another data recovery job. This is not our server. It is definitely a spaghetti. So let's have a look at the spaghetti. Wow. Check out the Powerwall distribution unit, which is a power board. Looks like a lot of things are connected to the power point. Alright, so we've been sent to fix this, and smart array failure on OneDrive. We need to order fans, and we also need to order, I think it's just an overheating warning, but I'll check in ILO soon. But yeah. Alright. Kill it with this gear. There's just so much junk in the way. Alright, well, we're gonna shut down this array. This table's gonna buckle. God knows why we're still using it. For a few $100s we can buy a whole rack. Oh, now we've got another problem. Processor 1 and 2 are both having problems. She was working. So the ILO is throwing errors for the processors. So hopefully I can lift this without having to take off too many bits. Well, there's a lot of heatsink compound here anyway, so... You don't need to reapply? Well, you should. Should always clean it off, then reapply. But for purposes of testing, CPUs 1 and 2. Yeah, we have a working server now. Okay, oh, where did that go? Let's put the shipping bracket back on. We'll need to come back with some heatsink material to replace the heatsink off it. Which, there was so much on there anyway, but it was loaded. But we should do it. I'm not worried about running it with what's on there. Fucking, the thing's finally going, which is a miracle. I need the baffle for the air. Gets all the airflow down the center of the server between the CPU fan, heat sinks, and over the top of all the memory modules. Put in the 2 capacitor batteries. Fit this guy back on. Alright, next problem. We have to get a replacement disk into this guy because we have got a smart array failure. But, like the other server, we will check the array controller first before we believe anything that the lights are saying to us. No smart array failures now, look at that. Put the screen back. Oh no, we'll see. It might burst into fire once we turn it on. I've been told that the screen is connected because the other IT company has been working on this. Let's turn it on. Alright, we've got a happy server. I feel like I want to see it, but I don't think I can. There we go. Do you want to pass the vacuum through, and we'll give this a hit too? Because yeah, fire her up. So I don't think we're going to have to deal with any data loss or anything because it was overheating before it even had a problem. Look at my hands, man. Like, once it spins up, here we go. The array that was down before. Wow, no errors so far. We have an online spare that is flashing right now, which looks like it's trying to pull data back from it. It's doing the other online spare now. Okay, so we do have an immediate failure detected on bay 8. Alright, well we need another drive. I don't believe that. I'm going to reboot again after this. Because if it had a smart array failure, that light would be going. The bay 8's actually fine. Like, the drive hasn't thrown the error, so we will reboot one more time, and if it's still throwing an error, we'll chuck a new drive in there. So we have a fully working server right now. So not one drive is failed, but you know, we're going to do another reboot and make sure that we did detect through ILO a smart array failure. This was like
3 weeks ago. I have to go through the ticket and check which drive it was. So we do have a spare drive here today to replace a drive. But I'm pretty sure when it wasn't that drive, it was like 21 when we came in the door. So, E411. And we'll see here on the screen that imminent failure detected on bay 8. Just take a photo of that and send it to the client. Can we get another drive? Put the new drive in. The drive is actually hot as well, which is a similar symptom to the other drive. You can see that the online spares are taking care of the data, and now you can see that this light's flashing, which is initializing the drive and copying all the data over to it. Red Hat is still loading. And we're good to go.